Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping the finale of Campaign 3 of Critical Role, episode 121. I have no idea how long this is going to be, but there's only one way to find out, so let's get started. We start on Rites with the Mighty Nine. It's been a few hours since Orem sent the message to Caleb. The Mighty Nine are now below in the tunnels of Rites, looking for wherever the Bell's Hells could be, with no trace of where they are. Jester thinks it's a little bit rude that they gave no follow-up to, asking for some help. The party think that the Hells actually might be dead after their plea to get some help. Ford doesn't like the smell down here. It's a very strong fungus smell. Caduceus doesn't actually think it's a fungus because it's not one he's ever seen before. Veth is going to try to understand it, so she licks it and makes a nature check and gets a dirty 20 on the nature check. She looks at the purple fungus and licks a yellow part of it, and she can tell that there's like a sweet decay flavor to it. The party watch the fungus move as if it's almost alive. Caleb, or Caduceus, thinks it's amazing. They let their lights fill the room a bit more, and they can see that the fungus is all over the room. They see the fungus is almost like two different trees that have been growing together, and they're still merging together. They agree it's best not to kill this thing, and Caleb gets a message. He gets a message from Essex saying that they should get to Vasselheim as something is happening. Caleb remembers that he has a sending stone that he gave to Orem. Good thing to remember that now, a couple hours later. He takes it out and he asks if they are safe, and they'll go to them if they need help. Orem answers as the party are in the core of Vasselheim walking through the streets. He says that they are in Exandria and that the Mighty Nine should come quickly. We then cut to Whitestone to a sleeping Keyleth who wakes up to the sound of a message from Aurora telling her to get the rest of them up and to go to Vasselheim. She says that she'll be right there, and she goes to start to wrangle people in. Vax is notably not in the room. Apparently they didn't sleep together. She opens her door, and in the hallway a black feather drips down, and she knows in her heart that Vax isn't here anymore. She does, however, see that Grog has been sleeping in the hallway. He says good morning, and Keyleth heads off to Vex's room. Vex immediately asks if Vax is still here, and Keyleth doesn't know. She was actually going to ask that same thing, and she asks what Vex and Vax talked about last night. Vex says that they talked a little bit after Keyleth left, but it wasn't very important. They think he's gone. Keyleth goes to get the others as well. Vex says that she loves Keyleth, and she knows how strong she is. Keyleth leaves to get the rest of the party. However, Scanlan got up early to get everyone bear claws from the Slayer's Take, and Serkonos is with him. Well, on top of him, as he's riding him. They talk about how they think Liev Tel really likes Serkonos, and Serkonos wants to go over some lines for later. Scanlan thinks that he should try some spice to loosen up a bit, because he's a little tense. Serkonos says to not tell the others, but he'll try it if Scanlan is there. Scanlan suggests that it would be a good bonding experience if Liev Tel was there as well. We then cut to Pike, who is sleeping in the best bed that Percy actually left for Vax, but Vax didn't use it, so she took it. Grog wakes her, and they jump on the bed for a second, as it's the best bed in the entire building. Pike says that it was the best sleep she's ever had, or the best sleep she's had in ages. Pike then asks what everyone else is doing. Grog says he doesn't know, but Keyleth was very concerned. The two then head out to see what's going on. Keyleth is in the sitting area that everyone was chatting in last night. She went to bed early and ghosted Vax, apparently. She was hoping to see Vax there, but he's not. Serkonos and Scanlan are the first ones to meet her, and they give her some treats from the Slayer's Take. Vex and Percy are the next. Pike and Grog join as well. Scanlan asks Pike where she slept, and she says the best bed in the house. He says that's not true. She wasn't in his bed. Keyleth informs the others that Aurora said they should go to Vasselheim and stuff is happening. Pike hugs Keyleth and asks if she's okay, and Keyleth says she's always okay. She says maybe they'll get some good news when they go to Vasselheim. She then says that it's been a while since they've gone on a vacation together, and that they should plan one. The others like that idea. Scanlan says they should get Liev Tel, but she's already in Vasselheim. Vox Machina then start making their way towards the Sun Tree. Meanwhile, the Bell's Hells are heading through the center of the city of Vasselheim. The sun is actually setting here, off in the distance. The populace step from their homes looking at what's going on as the party pass. Priests and other clerical type people are talking amongst themselves. There are hundreds of weapons trained on the party. On the faces of the army holding their weapons, there is fear and mistrust, but at the same time, some of them have a bit of hope in their eyes. The party push through the city as the populace flood towards the Heaven Stair Mountain. Dorian asks, what are they supposed to tell everybody here? And Laudna actually thinks that they already know. Chenny notes that they have all the leverage in this situation. Imogen says they need to talk to the gods, not the people. Breas asks how they're going to do that, and if Imogen can figure that out. Imogen says that the gods know they need to talk, so something will happen. The party look at Imogen, and she is still herself. Fern, however, can feel the energy deep within inside of her. With a perception check of 22, she can feel the presence of Predathos is getting stronger. It is only going to stay weak temporarily. They see the people who were talking to them at the Platinum Sanctuary, who were once on their side, who now seem to look at them with mistrust and are in almost a standoff. They are stopped at the base of the Heaven Stair Mountain. This time they're not going up to the Platinum Sanctuary. They are surrounded by armies, the many armies of Vasselheim and the others who were joined or asked to join the fight against the Rudisborn, or the Ruby Vanguard. High Bearer Vord steps forward, and they say that the party were charged with defending their Pantheon's salvation, but reports say that they've done otherwise. She asks them to explain what side they're on, and Imogen says they don't have time, they need to speak with the gods. Earthbreaker Grun asks what happened to Predathos, and Dorian says that they stopped Ludinus from using the power of Predathos. Imogen says that they have contained it. Grun asks where, and there's a bit of a crackle in the sky of lightning behind him. Orem steps in front of Imogen, and everyone gets their answer. The High Bearer nods and says that Imogen bears the God Eater, and they ask what the party intend. Imogen says that they are here to talk to the gods, and the High Bearer says that they represent the gods. Many have died for this, and they just want clarity of what's going on. Imogen says that they seek to talk to them to ensure their survival. The mistresses of the matron step forward. One of them rolls a black bead into the snow, and the black bead begins to emit some smoke. It eventually takes the form of the Raven Queen, who then stands protecting over top of the party. The matron's voice rings out to the people. They carry the egg that would eat all, but they do so at the behest of our futures. They are here with her protection. She says there is not much time, and the wind then suddenly picks up, and the smoke that was surrounding the party swirls. The faces of the people all around them become twisted and blocked out, and the clouds grow dark. The matron reaches out to a bunch of golden threads. Sparks then come from them as they see cloaked, wraith-like figures moving along them. One slithers along like a snake with glass-like eyes. Another is a star-light being with shining armor. After a while, the many gods of Exandria appear before the party in the matron's shadow. The Dawnfather speaks first and asks why the matron called them here. Where do they stand on the precipice of oblivion? The matron shrinks down to the size of the party. She stands with them. She says that these 8 are the keys to survival. She says that they have earned the right to share the path forward. She looks at Imogen. She tells Imogen to show them what she carries. Imogen lets out the fury of Predathos for just a moment, looking at the Dawnfather while doing so. The party see the red shape surround Imogen in this quick moment. It's the same as what they fought before. All of the gods flare in color, and the room that they were standing in that was once black is now white. Completely white. The shapes of the gods burn away, and we see the beings that they once were before they came to Exandria, the forms that they had before in Tengar. One asks if they should eat her. One asks who goes first if they try to run. Another says that their children won't abandon them. If they wish them to be dead, they would have unleashed it already. They should hear them out. One of these lights look behind them and says, or they should do both. And there is a flicker of darkness with a one singular flaming eye before it vanishes. The matron tells the Bell's Hells to tell them what they know and what they must do. Imogen says that they have contained Predathos, but there's not much time before it's out. She joined with Predathos and saw those it would destroy. She explains that she felt only the gods and nothing else. Mortals didn't exist to Predathos. She says that they won't stop the gods from doing what they want, but if they want to stay, she thinks that they should become mortals again. A rumble goes throughout the room, and the gods all get pissed off a bit. One says that they have been held hostage, and one of them says that they've kind of earned it. One says that this group is very clever, as they've spoken to them before. They understand how smart this group is. Wonder who that is. Good old Archart. The matron says that she's been working with the party, even though that she is an outsider to most of them. She does care for them all, and she looks at the betrayer gods and to the one shadowy figure behind them. Asmodeus looks at Breas, and he feels a fire within himself. The party have never felt more small, but at the same time more powerful, as they do as the gods are all looking at them now. The matron says that the rites of ascension have been reassembled and rewritten. They now weave the fabric of reality and a concept into the rites of katatheosis. That's it. Katatheosis. The gods all pause, because they don't know what that word means, and neither do I. A voice speaks saying that it's not so bad to be mortal, but asks for what will happen to the realms. The matron says that if they die, the realms will die as well, and the souls that were claimed will become, or will return to the Eidolon cycle. But if they bind themselves to katatheosis, goddamn, that word's gonna fuck me up, they will be bound to Exandria like the Kryn are bound to the Luxon. They will be diminished a bit, and they will be loosening their grip on the world. They will be reborn as mortals, and they will experience the world. They will grow, they will live, they will hurt, they will pass, like their children, and through that they will be given clarity in their purpose. Orym says for the gods to look at this practically. They have contained it for now, but that moment will pass. Someone else will try to use the power against them. If they love the world and their children, they should walk amongst them again. That way, no one will feel the need to tear them out of the sky. Persuasion check from Orym. He rolls a 22. A different voice speaks, much more playful this time. They say that there will be some unforeseen risks, but is this not a better option? One asks if this will free the Chained Oblivion, and the matron says that the Chained Oblivion is not their kin and is outside of this deal. One in the shape of a dragon, one of these light beings in the shape of a dragon, asks about the Whispered One. They'll look around and see a shadow, or that same shadow from before, with one flaming eye appear. He says all truths are mutable in time, mysteries and problems to be solved. The knowing mistress says that indeed, and in time, they will solve him once more, and he disappears. It seems that Vecna is part of this deal. Imogen suggests not helping him and letting Predathos deal with him, but the matron says the right takes them all, they will all be together to shatter the gate. Goddamn. For those who don't wish to join, they should run, and the rest will be reborn somewhere. Imogen needs to make a persuasion check. She rolls a 25. The Horned One steps forward, Asmodeus. He says to walk as one of them once was a travesty. To do it again is a curse. To be destroyed would be to die with dignity. Breas hears in his head that he's done well, and to follow the call of his servants, and his rewards will be unimaginable. For once they do, it's a race to find them and punish them forever. Breas responds, and he suggests that fate is strange. It has brought Breas to him, and he used his tools that Breas learned, and he suggests that this is actually an opportunity for Asmodeus. Breas sought a family in the hells, or in his hells specifically, but he found one in these hells, the Bell's hells. He thinks that they represent the things that are right. Titans, Ashari, the Fae, Rudisborn, the wisdom of ages, and death, and the charisma of the wind. They aren't godly people, and he trusts them. He says, like Asmodeus, they've been trying to search for a family. Breas fears that if he runs, he'll never reconnect with his family properly. Breas says that Asmodeus has given him advice in the past. Breas' last prayer to Asmodeus is that Asmodeus listens to his advice this time. Persuasion check of 22. Asmodeus stalks between his kin a bit, and he says, of course, they want to bring us down low, and then he snaps at Breas and says, interesting point. He tells Breas to hold true in his faith, and he says to not be worried for him, as fractured faith is his specialty. Breas says he wishes he could have been truer to him, but when he promised that he'd betray his friends, he guessed he lied. The flame then grins and he tells Breas that he'll find him. Laudna then steps forward and she says it's smart to weigh the risks and notes that even after the gods are gone, they won't be forgotten. She wasn't forgotten. This city was built in their image and they all worship them. even in times they won't be able to represent themselves, other will uphold their teachings and what they stand for. The party has met many champions in this time, and the gods can lean on them when they need to. They can trust their followers. This is coming from someone who doesn't worship the gods, but knows what it's meant to not be forgotten. Persuasion check, and unfortunately this is the first low roll with a 9. A voice comes through, dark and deep, saying that they won't be forgotten, their children have been taught, she doesn't have to tell them that. They already know. This one has chains and metals coming from it. It says, some of them have left their impression long ago, and they will all kneel in time. One light turns and says that he's always been like that. Fern steps forward. She notes that she is from the Fey realm, and in her brief time in Xander, she's done a lot. She's a professor, a princess, a mother, and she whispers to kings and queens. Fern says that they've taken mortal forms before, and she looks at the Everlight. She watched her make a family, and then she looks to Asmodeus and asks him if he understands how much that she loves him. She thinks that they have a choice, and they can do what they want, but they will enjoy life if they become mortal. But if they don't, they better run forever. Intimidation check of 25. Imagine intimidating a fucking god. Imogen says that she makes a good point. The gods have forgotten what it's like to meet someone new. Imagine what it would be like to find each other again. One of the lights says, like they hunt each other, almost in a question. Dorian steps forward and does a juggling act. He says that it's fun to do stuff like this because you don't know what will happen. And then he drops one on purpose and says that he didn't know that was going to happen. Wouldn't it be fun if they didn't know what was going to happen next? He says he's lived more life in a few months than his entire life. And he says he's okay with not knowing what's going to happen next. Persuasion check 22. A golden figure steps forward. He says the mortals are surprising them constantly. He notes the gods all must be tired at this point. Why not write a new chapter with something different? Suddenly, a multi-headed dragon behemoth-like creature curls into the conversation. 5 voices ring out in unison. Now, what would happen if they just ate them and ran? Imogen says that they wouldn't be able to run fast enough. Ashton asks if this creature would come back with 5 heads and notes that they don't have a temple in Vasselheim. He says that they call Vasselheim the coward city where he's from, as all the people here did was just build walls and ran and hid like the gods did. He calls Tiamat a coward and tells her to put her money where her mouth is. Intimidation check 22. I couldn't imagine calling Tiamat a coward face to face. The heads swirl around him, and as they get closer, as if they were going to strike, the Titan shard within him reacts. The head stops and says that they'll find him first. Orem says that they can find them and kill them if they want, but they'll be devoured. They can write new chapters or close the book. A pale god steps forward, the Moonweaver. Chetney suddenly feels an urge within inside himself, because he's a werewolf, not because he's horny. She notes that they say that they are above others, but they all work on instinct. And she notes that Chetney has been quiet up to this point. Chetney says that he's been looking for death, and notes that they seem to be cowards and they fear the unknown. He says that they don't fear death, maybe some do, but only because of who will be left behind and who would miss them. He says that he'd only miss his party if they were to die. He says that they can live or they can run. He says they can't run forever, but if they choose life, they can see if they beat his age 400. Persuasion check of 9. The gods share a conversation between themselves and not the party. It's almost like a symphony of music above them. They all look back at the party, and it's now time for the final argument. Fern casts Enhance ability on Imogen and gives her Eagle Splendor. The matron lifts the party to be eye level with the gods. Imogen says that they have so much power and it must be hard to run or survive, but they should pick quickly as she's getting hungry. Laudna then uses minor illusion to make the image of Predathos surrounding Imogen. The matron says to join us or to join the annihilation that took Tengar. Last persuasion check, the DC is 30. For every number below 30, a god won't join the ritual. There are 20 gods. She needs to roll a 13 to get all of them to join. She rolls a natural 20 for a total of 37. Heavenly and demonic music suddenly surrounds the party in what sounds like a god's crescendo in ways the party don't understand. The shadow of the matron consumes the party, and they wake in Vasselheim. Everyone is looking at them. The sound of shattering glass then erupts above them, and the air itself cracks. The divine gate is beginning to crumble away, and the clouds scatter, pushed away into a blue sky. The lattice begins to disappear. They hear the sounds of mountains shifting, the winds pick up, and the matron suddenly bursts from the ground in physical form, no longer a spectral form. She says the ritual needs one more thing, and she looks at the Kryn, the Bright Queen, and asks for their artifact. The Dynast is confused and refuses. The matron asks for someone else's help then. They need a beacon to bind themselves. After a second, Ashton steps forward. The party aren't sure, but Ashton is willing to do it. Chetney asks why he's being selfless all of a sudden, and Ashton hugs him and says that Chetney never really understood him. He then goes to the matron. She makes a bunch of runes all around her, and it seems to be some sort of magical equation. They look up and they see the same magical equation, but in an impossible scale in the sky. Ashton offers his hand, and she takes it. Imogen says that he's a good person. He says he knows. He's Ashton Greymore of Bassaris. He's nobody's child. Not the gods, not anybody. Fern then runs over and hugs him. Fern says that she's proud of him. He says that he loves them all and he hopes to visit them soon. They all say that they love him back, and the runes go all over Ashton's body. He is then lifted into the air into an impossible distance at an impossible speed. He is now up inside the massive version of the ritual. They see the flash of the Dawnfather stepping towards the city, the armies that were at Rites coming back towards the city as well, and black clouds off in the distance. All of the emotional elements of the world converge at this moment. The matron removes her mask and looks at the party and says that we'll return. She puts her mask back on and then holds her arms out. They hear the sound of music again, and the horizon begins to have war horns go off and crackling of lightning off in the distance. Time, presence, matter, everything comes together in the middle of all of it is a gray flash. There's a blink, and it's all gone. Everything is gone. It's just a blue sky. Orm looks to see if Ashton is gone. Perception check 18. For a moment, everyone feels a change in magic, as if everything's been rewritten. Everyone exhales. And then suddenly, Orm sees Ashton's limp body falling from the sky towards the ground. Dorian summons Coriolis to try to catch him, but he misses. As he's trying to go up, he just mistimes it and goes flying himself. Imogen uses a sorcery point to fly, and she takes Lana with her. When they get close enough, they'll try to cast Featherfall. Dexterity check, just like Coriolis, she rolled a little bit low with an 11, and unfortunately, he falls faster than they expected, and now they're above him. Chetney begins to run to try to catch him, and he uses his boots of speed to do so. He's trying to sort of triangulate where he's going to land. Dorian kicks his boots to try to hopefully help, but with his wing speed of being only 40, he's not going to be moving very fast. Imogen then drops Laudna, hopefully that she can catch up. Chetney takes out the Staff of Dark Odyssey. Maybe he can do something with that. Ashton is falling eastward a bit away from the party. Chetney needs to roll an athletic check to see if he can run through the crowd. Natural 20. Fern turns into a giant shoebill like he normally does. Orm jumps on. Fern needs to make an acrobatics check because the wind is a little bit fucky and she's trying to sort of match it. Natural 20 on that check. She flies towards Ashton and tries to use her talons to grab him, but she might not get there in time, but she can maybe help Orm get him. Meanwhile, Chetney gets ready to use the staff and cast Banishment on Ashton. Breas is painting this because he can't really do anything. Laudna is going to try to cast Darkness in front of her and step into it, and then try to step out of Ashton's shadow on his back as he's falling. Orm will need to roll an acrobatics check to see if he can grab Ashton. Chetney will roll a dex check to see if he can time the banishment properly before impact. And Laudna will roll with her ability mod to see if she can do this at all. Laudna with a 19. Orm with a dirty 20 as he's trying to reach for Ashton. And Chetney with a 21. Lana casts darkness and steps into it, but as he spins, light hits his back light hits the shadow on his back, and she's pushed back through the darkness that she was trying to step through. Orm reaches for Ashton, having to use Seedling to hook onto him a little bit, slowing Ashton just enough for Chetney to cast Banishment on Ashton. The party try to figure out a play, but both the Mighty Nine and Vox Machina show up and are ready to help. Caleb prepares telekinesis to catch him just in case, and a moment passes, Ashton reappears, and telekinesis kicks off. Caleb rolls a dirty 20 and puts Ashton safely onto the ground. Jester runs up to heal them, but they all see that there is a shattered gap within Ashton's head. Orm looks for a pulse, doesn't find one. Everyone circles Ashton. Fern is now herself and is holding him. Cad tries to use Spare the Dying, but that only works on people who are dying, not who are dead. Caleb says that he can destroy his transmuter stone to cast Raise Dead. Laudna wonders if the shard can help Ashton at all. She asks Caleb if that'll help, and he doesn't really know. Jester asks what was in their brain before, and the party explained that it was a beacon in their head that was used for the ritual. Orm lays Seedling on him in a last-ditch attempt to have him attune to it, but he can't attune to it because he's dead. Serkono says that he can help, but he needs the diamonds for true resurrection. Pike walks up and begins to cast resurrection using diamonds that she got from Vex, because Vex always has enough diamonds on her. The runes that would restore things are being resisted by the hole in Ashton's head, unfortunately. Caleb puts his stone inside Ashton's head and tries to cast Raise Dead. Caleb reforms it and begins to shape it towards the rough shape of Ashton's head, but it's not taking place. Fern tells the Bright Queen to give them their beacon. The Bright Queen says no, and that they are leaving. Laudna then looks for Essek or Seth in the crowd. She does find Seth, and she asks for a Dunamancy potion in case he has one. He looks around at everyone for a minute, and then he decides to say, and just says, fuck it, and he sits next to Caleb. He adds his hands to the equation and puts some Dunamancy onto the stone. It then vanishes for a second, and as if time has been reversed on Ashton's head, they are suddenly blasted away, and Seth is gone, and Essek is revealed to everyone, which is not good. Raise Dead takes effect, and Ashton wakes up. They say, damn it, FCG, and asks if he's dead, and the party all hug him because he's alive now. Veth says they have to call him Kingsley now, and the Bright Queen gets her soldiers ready to circle Essek. Caduceus heals Ashton and puts spiritual guardians up around them to, ward off these guards. Essek goes to teleport, and someone tries to counterspell, but it fails, and Essek pops out of vision. The 9 try to play it off. Deception check from Jester, 10. The Bright Queen looks at them. She says, at least we know the fugitive is in close circles, and they will have business in the future. She says she's glad he's back as she looks at Ashton, and says that nothing of value was lost. She nods to Chetney, and he winks back, and she walks away with the rest of her people. The people of Vasselheim start to go back about their day, a little bit confused as to what just happened. The party laugh as Ashton was the one who saved the gods. He's upset that he said he loved them. He wasn't meant to come back from this. Laudna wonders what'll happen if they release Predathos now. Imogen feels that it's pushing against its binds. It wants to feed. They wonder how to get it out. Imogen thinks that they just need to talk to it and aim for space, maybe. Many people still stand around them, Vox Machina and the Mighty Nine included, and some soldiers. Doran wonders if Predathos will hunt down other gods from other worlds, and Orm says that it's coming out somewhere, so might as well get it going. They want a place that's private, and they choose to walk up the heaven staircase to the point where it's looking over Vasselheim. Caleb tells them to go, and that they'll deal with everyone else around them. A bunch of people follow the party as they go up the stairs. As they go, people stop and start to watch from a bit of a distance, as being too close to this thing sounds like a terrible idea. From up here where they are, they have an insane view of both Vasselheim and the surrounding lands, the largest blue sky that Vasselheim has seen in ages. Imogen feels pain inside of her, and she takes Laudna's hand, who understands exactly what she's going through, having something else inside of her. She feels the tether between her and Fern. She looks inward on herself, in towards the small being inside of her. It looks at her. It says that it's hungry. She tells it there's no food for it now, and it gets very upset and lurches forward, trying to get out. The rest of the party watch as Imogen's chest tenses up, and lightning begins to arc off of her. Her eyes brighten. Fern and Laudna hold on to her. She feels as if she's being ripped apart. She tries to let it escape. A charisma check of 22. She guides Prodothus to an exit point of the exit of least resistance, and she closes her eyes and energy begins to spark off. It burns the others as it hits them, and it tingles a little bit. Her eyes and mouth then open up and red gas comes from her. It spills out and they can see claws, both claws and the teal and purple glow within, the small storm forming before them. It's alien-like. It spreads out looking around in fury, but eventually grows cold and begins to drift away into the space above, looking for something else to feed on. Brea shows Imogen a painting he made, because, everyone gets a painting. Ashton asks why he doesn't just do that. He's very skilled at that. Imogen still has her lightning marks on her, seemingly still has her power. The spark of the rite of cathotheos, whatever the fuck that word is, fades and the sunset returns. There's no longer a blue sky. They see Catha and Rudis are both in the sky, locked where they're supposed to be. They look down towards the city, and we then go to Vax inside the domain of the matron. He had a brief stay with his friends and family. It was short and enjoyable, but also painful. He's back in the matron's domain. She welcomes him. She tells him that things are changing, and tells him there was a place that she couldn't see past, and now there's a future of possibility. At this moment, she extends her hand out, and Morrigan steps into the chamber that they're in. She joins the table. Morrigan is a new champion of the matron. She now sees Vax next to her for the first time. They greet each other, and they say that they've seen each other. Morrigan says that he's actually been guiding her. Vax doesn't ask why she's here. They both feel a shift in the matron. They hear her voice, and she says that today is a strange day, but one that'll keep the gods safe. She says that Prodothus is loose, and they won't be gods anymore. Or there won't be gods anymore. With the help of the Bell's Hell, she's reforged the rites, and will now walk amongst mortals. Morrigan asks if they will be okay, and the matron says yes. They are now bound to Exandria. She says that they will be reborn soon, and Morrigan asks where they can find her. She says that that is the role of the champion, and it's more important than ever. A fragment of themselves that can stay behind. Vax asks what happens when she's gone, and the matron takes Morrigan's hand, and she feels the pain and the peace and the joy of the end. Morrigan is now different, but still the same. Her heart beats a little slower. The matron says that the two of them are now the guardians of the realm, and they will find her each and every cycle. Morrigan says that this is all she wants. Their job is to escort the lost souls and live past their years. They will be her face where she can't be. She removes her mask and they see her face for the first time in ages. Vax wonders what to do when she's not here, and she shrinks down to his size, and his task is to walk amongst Exandria and to seek her out and be her symbol. But he is not alone. There are others that will be at his beck and call. Morrigan asks how they'll know it's her. She could be a dog. She says that they're bound to the beings that they made. It's within their rights. They shouldn't be a dog. The matron is excited about this. Vax asks if the threads will hold, and she says that they have to, and then the threads all vibrate around them. She says that he's been loyal, and now he doesn't walk alone. He will search unfamiliar and familiar lands. She wants him to take some time and to go enjoy the fruits of his labor. He wants her to do the same. She wants everything life brings her, and he says that he still has faith. They have much to do. The matron touches his chest, and he is filled with warmth, and color returns to his being, and his heart begins to beat again. She says to take some time and to take some of his life back. There is more than just duty now. She tells them to go find her, and when they need to rest, that he should go to be with her. Morrigan says that she'll help Vax, and the matron says that she'll see them again soon. She then steps into the shadow and disappears beyond it. They both leave the table, and then Deanna, Brea, joins the table. She was in Vasselheim with Frida and saw the matron shatter the divine gate. Light takes her vision, and she stands before the Dawnfather. She asks if he's okay, and he says yes. He tells her the same thing that the matron told Vax, that he is becoming mortal. And they will be gone for a bit, but he'll be back. She closes the space between them and they hug. She feels the heat, but pushes through it, and it becomes warmth. He stands about 7 feet tall. He apologizes for the distance that he's had before. She accepts and understands having to start over. She says that they'll be okay. He doesn't know what he's feeling. He's never really reflected before. Deanna says that it can be a lot, but with people around them, it's easier. She thanks him for giving her that. He says that he's just trying to do his best, and she says that everyone is worth saving, sort of hearkening back to when she asked if he was worth saving. He remembers that feeling. She asks where he'll be born, and he doesn't know. Maybe she'll find him. He fades away, and she comes back towards where, in Vasselheim, and she sees that other people have also come out of visions. So they've also been able to get their last goodbye with their gods. Some people cry, some people are confused, some people who didn't get the visions before finally got one, and it was a goodbye. She watches the lattice break above. She watches a dark shape fall from the sky, and she looks next to her and sees Frida. He wonders if that means the bells have succeeded, and Frida makes a perception check of 17. He sees a humanoid shape fall and doesn't notice who it is, but he sees a hammer next to it, so he understands who it might be. He informs Deanna and they take off to try to help. They push through the crowd, seeing that the people of the faith and everything they've built is now technically gone. They find where Ashen was, but is no longer there. It seems they took a while. They then race over towards the heaven staircase where they've been told where they were. Frida then tries to smell for Chetney. Perception check of 19. He sniffs the path that they went, and he sees the Bell's Hells are walking up towards the peak of the mountain. She climbs on top of him. He knows there's a sense of foreboding in the air. He knows what he's walking into. They try to find a way towards the heaven staircase, and without much issue, they get past the bastions blocking it because she represents the Dawnfather. They run up the mountain, and it's mostly empty as they go up. They feel an energy in the air, and they stop as they look over and see the storm fly off into the stars. They hope this means that they won, and they eventually reach the way to the top, where everyone comes back to the table. 10 people at the table again. Crazy shit. The Bell's Hells see their friends, and they meet them just after Prodothos has left. They all hug, and Deanna asks if Ashen is okay. He says that he is. Using Frida, they show Ashen what he looks like now. They sort of buff a piece of Frida, and he's able to see his reflection. It's much darker now, and he looks like a telescope with a purple opal inside him. He pokes at it, and a piece of stone flakes off of his face. He notes that he's been through a lot. Laudna says that he's acting weird, and he says that he has a new brain. It would be weird if he wasn't acting weird. The party asks how they found them, and they say that they followed Ashen. Deanna asks what they did with the gods, and the party explain. They then look to Frida, and they try to explain what's happened with FCG, but he already knows. He felt it. They wanted to tell him in person, but they just couldn't. They had no way to do that until now. Deanna asks who Dorian and Breas are, and they introduce themselves. Imogen tells Deanna in their head that Breas joined them in Aor and explains what happened with them, and he's single. Chetney asks if Deanna is okay, and she was brought back to life and everything, so she seems to be okay. Nothing seems to be affecting her in that regard. Frida asks for a piece of FCG, and both Orm and Chetney give them theirs. Laudna tells Frida that FCG had a coin that Orm lost once upon a time, and she'd love to help him find it. Frida says that he'd love to do that. Chetney gives Deanna a carving that is able to fucking move. It's like a whale. It's really cool. Deanna tells the party she made up with the Dawnfather in that last vision. Deanna and Breas flirt for a bit, and he explains his faith and the situation that he's in with it. They talk about fucking the gods for a bit, now that they're mortal, so it's possible. I guess it was possible before. Dorian asks what happens to the champions, and he thinks of Opal in this moment. The party don't really know. Breas worries about those who follow the gods. Deanna can still feel the magic, so maybe it's okay. Fern wonders if the champions are all free. They think that now is a good time to call on Tevin. Fern kisses the spot on her finger, and the smell of sulfur happens. it just suddenly appears, and Tevin appears with a flash of fire. Fern asks how he's doing, and he takes her by the hand and says that she called at a strange time. She asks if he's still a champion, and he pulls her away from the rest of the party. He blocks off the rest of them with his wing so they can have a private conversation, and he says that his lord has left, but he'll be back. She asks what that means, that he has to do, and he says that they are to see his truths and to keep his temples, and they'll need her one day. She's confused as he's gone. Doesn't that mean the contracts are gone? But Tevin says that his contracts are forever. Orym looks to see if people are coming now at the sight of a devil, and they are. He tells Fern they need to hurry up, and she says that she'll call upon Tevin again if she ever needs, and Tevin vanishes. There's now a bigger glowing mark on her finger, more intricate in design. The Bastions rush up with Vord ready to fight. Orym says that everything is okay, there's no danger. Vord asks what Imogen is now. Imogen says that she's just Imogen, it's gone now. Vord looks visibly shaken, which is a new thing people have seen from them. Imogen steps forward and says that it's okay. The gods agreed to it. Ophira, the High Hierophant, says that what's done is done. It was the gods' choice after all. Deanna says that their gods gave them gifts to help each other, not to hate each other. Vord asks what the city is now, and the party says whatever they want it to be. Vord tries to leave, but Grun says that they will mourn later, and they touch foreheads. Vord does end up leaving. Lana asks why they're acting this way, and the party says that they did technically just lose everything. Fern asks Imogen to send a message to Opal. She does, using some sorcery points. She tells Opal that she's with her friends and asks if she's herself again, and asks where she is. Amy then joins the table, sitting at Matt's seat. There's technically 12 people at this table now. Opal answers saying that she doesn't know. She thinks she is herself. Her head is clear and quiet, and she saw a body fly out of the sky, which means she's in Vasselheim. Amy then leaves the table. Imogen informs the others and sends another message. Amy rejoins the table. Imogen says that they're up in the heaven staircase, and Dorian says hi and to listen to the sound of thunder. Opal then says she'll find him, and Dorian uses thunderclap so that she can hear it. People look at Grun and ask, he says that it wasn't him, and he shows off how he makes the sound of thunder, which would likely help Opal even more. Frida asks Chetney aside, and Frida tells him that he can smell him and tells him that he is now like Chetney. He explains that when he felt FCG, he became angry. He felt something primal within him, and when he woke, there was a lot of dead things. Because he felt Chetney die, so he went primal. Sorry, he felt FCG die and went primal. He asks Chetney for help in controlling this abilities, and Chetney says that it'll be his honor. Frida says that he was angry at the party for letting FCG die. How could they do that? But he gained gratitude in that moment and thanks Chetney. Chetney says that FCG died saving them. Frida still feels FCG somewhere. Frida then gives Chetney a crafted Aoraton's heart. Orym is looking for Opal. Ophira says that there's been a great change and they must talk about those on Ruidus, the Ruidians. Grun says that some are very angry with them, and they'll realize that one day it's not their fault. Ophira and Grun then start to escort the party elsewhere, likely inside the Platinum Sanctuary. Frida and Deanna are pulled away from the party and they leave the table. Orym does hear Opal being surrounded by Bastions, and Amy joins the table once again, this time on the other side of it. She still has the crown on, but the black ink streaks are now dried on her face, and she only has 2 arms. It's less inky than she was before. Orym protects her from the Bastions, and the EXU cast Hug. Opal sees Dorian, and she says that she's so sorry for what happened, and the party introduce themselves to Opal. Imogen cleans her with prestidigitation. She's like what she used to look like at the end of EXU. She asks about the gods, and they explain what happened. She says that she's still bound to Lolth, but she's seen a lot more violence, and she doesn't seem to mind that anymore. She was told to look for her. She thinks about baby Lolth and how she can be shaped, and how unprotected she is. Dorian and her lock eyes on an unspeakable idea for a second. Goddamn. Dark. Opal says that they are just missing one, Dariax, and Dorian says that he's just fine. They reach out, They eventually reach the antechamber of the Platinum Sanctuary, and Opal is told to wait outside, and Ashton says to the guard to treat Opal like family, and if anything bad will happen to her, something bad will happen to him. The guard says he just protects the sanctum. Inside the sanctum with the council, they talk about how the people of Rites, the Ruidians, were going to the Bloody Bridge to come to Exandria, and they're currently sort of stuck. The party is asked what they should do with them, and the party want them to be able to join Exandria. Vex says that Whitestone can take some of them in. Grog wants to go to the moon. Keyleth says the Ashari will help bring the moon people over. Percy wants to go there and learn some secrets. Bo says there's a lot of science stuff there ready for him. Allura says that they can begin the process of moving them, especially as they've made the best of a bad place before. Maybe they can do that on Exandria as well. Go to some shittier locations or something and make good spaces out of it. Veth asks, what about the bad ones? And Jamansa Ord steps forward and says that they have many who have been captured and they can hold them accountable. But there's definitely been many who have been taken advantage of, so they should seek to help them. Caduceus notes that it'll be good for them to be able to live their dreams. Everoa wonders if that means they can dream on their own now. The party asks if the people of Rites will be open to trade and helping things out with the move. Everoa knows a few people in the volition who can help set all of that up. 3 people need to roll persuasion checks here. Caleb says that they deserve a chance at a fresh start and gets a persuasion check of 25. Bray says that he had a crazy 6 days, because he's only been with the party for 6 fucking days. During all of this, he saw people, and they just want safety and security to do what they want, and they deserve a chance to have that same thing and to have redemption. Persuasion check 22. Imogen says that they didn't know what to expect from Rites. She expected lifelessness, but when they got there, the first thing they saw were farmers and kids. They jumped for a chance and hope. They jumped for a chance and hope, and they hope should be given to them. And she rolls a persuasion check of 23. Plain Rider Rin then steps forward, saying that she's been there and she can back all of this up, and she can help with the transportation of the people in the most comfortable way possible. The council talk for a bit, and they have agreed, and the Ruidians can come to Exandria and exchange knowledge. Everoa says that they'd be surprised how much that they know about them already through their dreams. They'll fit in just fine. The council says that Laketown will become a bastion of transference, and cities like Ank'Harel, Amon, Jushar, Byroden, Whitestone, Ashenador, and Zephyra all volunteer, and many more volunteer to take up aid for these people. Everyone agrees to help the Ruidians out. The party are let out, and they see Opal waiting again. Opal freaks out meeting Vex, and fangirls a little bit. They feel the world has exhaled with this agreement, and at this moment Opal leaves to do something on her own. Amy leaves the table. So, what's next for Orm in the next couple of days? He looks for Rin, who's getting ready to help the Ruidians out, who is currently with Rashina, the leader of the Volition. She's only been here for a day, but she's looking forward to this task much more than dealing with the Weave Mind. Orm asks Rin to take a walk. He's glad that she made it, and for the next little bit, he offers to help heal her using his sword and prayer to heal her. So she attunes to the sword, and after an hour, her arm grows back. She thanks him for this. Orm then says that he wants to go to Zephyra to find Keyleth, but that'll wait for later. Laudna looks for Leotel. She goes to the temple with Imogen, because that's likely where she is, and Laudna asks Leotel about her future. Liev asks what she'd like, if she'd like to stay here at the temple for a while. She's not sure and asks if she'll ever be whole again. Leotel says that she seems whole to her, and things have changed, but she's still here. Imogen asks about her lifespan, and Laudna wants to age with Imogen. She doesn't want it to live forever. It's a little bit unfair to Imogen. Liev asks if she's sure, and Laudna says yes, she's had enough time. She had hoped for death before she met Imogen, but now afterwards it's not fair for her to think that way. Leotel takes their hands and uses divine intervention to make Laudna age and die with Imogen. The walls dim into a blur and she connects their hands, and there is suddenly a golden thread tying them together. Imogen feels a bit of cold run down her spine, and Laudna feels a bit of warmth run down hers. Laudna and Imogen kiss, and they thank Leotel. Are they married now? Lana says she would like to come back one day, but that's when she's an old lady. Imogen needs to talk to her mother, and they say that they're going to have their cabin now. Imogen says that she heard music for the first time when they met, the two of them, and the two of them leave and go look for Liliana. She's been held up in a tent, sort of out of the prying eyes of many people. Imogen asks what her mother will do now, and Liliana doesn't really know. She did a lot of bad trying to do some good. They talk about her going home to talk to Imogen's dad, but Liliana has to figure out things for herself first. She says that she owes him a lot and she owes Imogen a lot, and if she's not locked up by the end of it, she'll have a path of apologies to walk. Lana thinks people are in a mood for redemption, so she likely won't be locked up. Imogen asks if Liliana knows if Ludinus made more of himself. Liliana says that it wouldn't surprise her if he did. Liliana then goes back to bed, and she needs to rest, and she's very proud of Imogen. She wishes that she could have made her the same that she is now, just with better means. The two want to find Caleb now. Breas calls everyone together to apologize, but as he does, we suddenly cut back to the moment that the gate shattered. He is pulled into a dark place lit by fire. Before him is Asmodeus, who asks if Breas is proud of what he's done, and Breas says yes, he used what he learned for good and evil. The two of them talk for a while, but eventually Breas tells him that he's going to walk his own path with the new people that he's found. This angers Asmodeus, and Asmodeus says that he will find him one day. We then go back to Breas calling his friends together, and he tells them the truth about Asmodeus and how he'll come for him. Fern asks what he's going to do about that, jokingly saying that she's not going to help. Imogen suggests that he stays with Nana, as he'll be safe there. Fern likes the idea, and so does Breas. Orm suggests that he trained very hard for the day that Asmodeus show up. Imogen asks who he'll follow now, and Breas says that the gods are all gone, but he did get a pamphlet from Jester about this traveler guy. Maybe her god will guide him. Ashton says that Breas made his best choices when he was thinking on his own, and she suggests taking time for himself. Lana says that he also has them if they need, and Chetney says that he isn't sure about that as he never got a painting. At this moment, Breas gives him and Dorian both paintings. The party suggests that he become a performance artist. Fern says that they have his back if he ever has theirs. He agrees, she insight checks, and they both roll 30. They do a roll-off and Fern wins. She can tell that he has their backs. Fern asks Ashton what he's going to do, and he says that he needs to figure himself out. And now that he has a new head, so he needs to figure out what that means, and he'll find Essek to do so. He now wants to walk. They only spent a few days on the moon. He wants to see that place and the rest of Exandria. Orm asks if they want to go to Drushar and chill for a week, and then go wherever they need from there. The party like that idea. Ashton says that it'll never be a goodbye for any of them. They're always going to be friends and family. The party asks why Laudna is glowing, and they explain. Laudna and Imogen decide that this means they're married. Great. Perfect. No wedding episode for Laura. Dorian looks for any Silken Squall flags as he flies over the city on Coriolis. It's not hard for him to find, and he finds his father's tent beyond the walls of the city. He goes to his father's tent. Guards would stop him, but they let him through as they see who it is. He sees that his mother is inside the tent boiling some water. He uses a gust of wind to sort of surprise her, and she turns, sees him, and runs for him, and they hug. He asks if she hates him, and she says no. He tells her not to call him Dorian. He'd rather be Bronte to her. Dorian apologizes for what happened. This world wasn't what he thought it was. She just holds him. She apologizes to him. They try to protect him from the scary world. He asks if he can start over, and she tells him that he just needs to decide one day that it's okay to start over. The winds are prone to change. He eventually falls asleep in her lap. The party then gather and go to Drushar, including Frida. I won't lie to you guys. Drushar is just a big pile of nothing. Like, they do a couple of things. They go to a bunch of old locations and see old characters again, but they don't really do anything important, and nothing really key happens there. So I feel like just saying they go to Drushar, they rewalk their old path, and that's about it. They see Pretty. They see Pretty. And if anyone wanted to know, they do see Pretty again. He has a girlfriend. There is one bit of information that I feel like is worth talking about as far as Drushar, though. Ashen and Frida do go to the Crook House, and they find a like microchip of FCGs. They're not quite sure what it does. And when Ashen sees Milo, Milo pours more gold into Ashen's head to sort of fill the cracks. So, yeah, that's a thing. So, that's rough. So after that, Orym wants to head to Zephyra with Dorian and Fern. They gather where they first met. Laudna gathers chairs and tables and casts animate objects on them to recreate their first fight. Ashen goes to Fern and asks what she's going to do, and she says that she's going to get to know her parents better and maybe study under Nana Mori. That's a fucking scary idea. She thinks that she'll be good at it. She also wants to go see the Unseelie Court. They owe her some stuff, maybe. She also wants to collect Chetney's eggs, most importantly, and maybe join the Teldori Council, but who knows. She asks him what he's going to do, and he says that he's going to get control of himself first and travel. She has to go with him, but he says that he'd love that, but not yet. He wants her to really think about it. He wants to be around her, and he wants her to be thoughtful about it, not just to jump into things. He doesn't want her to waste her time. She agrees. Frida leaves the table, and the EXU crew, the Crown Keepers, including Opal, go to Zephyra. Opal, Amy, joins the table. They see the beautiful city, and people wave to Orym as he goes by. Maeve greets him, and Orym asks if they can have dinner later with the whole family. She runs off to get the family ready. As they walk, they hear the sounds of Dariak singing in a bar, and they go and hug him and meet up with him again. And the people clap as he stops, as they seem to be rather annoyed by him. The EXU team has been reunited. They all hug, and at this moment, Denise runs in and tackles Dariax. He says that he didn't leave her, he just got lost and distracted. He says he's happy to see them all and pulls Denise aside and apologizes to her for being easily distracted. She accepts his apology and she kisses him. Opal apologizes for sending Dariax off the way she did with her spell, and Orym asks if he had heard any of the news that's been going on recently. He says yes, a crazy storm came through yesterday and the colors have left the sky. They then head out to see Keyleth, minus Dariax and Denise, who are cleaning up in the bar. They go to her place and her door is open. Keyleth lets them in. She hugs Orym and introduces his friends to her. Keyleth remembers Opal from the fight. They drink some wine for a bit. He tells Keyleth that he's grateful for her faith. She says that he proved her faith was well placed. Orym says that he got used to the road and asks if he can be her blade from around the world, not just at home. She says it was never about him being here. He is a saber blade of the Tempest no matter where he goes. She wants him to uphold the Air Ashari, or just the Ashari in general. He tells her that he's found someone and that he's been under the moons for a while now, but it's time for him to be under the sun. She thinks about what they've lost and she hopes that they all find peace, and Orym hugs her and wants her to find peace. They tell stories and drink till night, and then the party go to Orym's place to have some dinner. They see a member of the Zephyra Air Ashari teaching some Railoran children as they go by about flowers. They eventually get to Orym's place and they eat dinner, and Amy leaves the table. We now push into the future of these characters a little bit. What is next for Chetney Pokapy years down the line? Travis rolls his death dice, and Chetney's still alive. Chetney introduces Frida to the Gorgine, and they will teach him to embrace his gift and be the first robot werewolf. Awesome. He then helps out his friends as he goes around for a bit, but eventually he goes back home. He sees that Ultgar's shop is thriving again, no Drixlich, and there is a new apprenticeship program, the Pokapy Path. What is next for Fern? She goes home to Nana Mori and learns under her for a while, with no one watching them right now because the gods aren't there to be annoying. She plucks a thread and sees that a man is sneaking through an alley and eventually jumps on a cart. She saw someone's life and how they can affect it. Nana says that they watch, learn, and eventually bargain, and then she ties a knot and lets go of it on the thread. She then says that someone just had a bad day. Nana is happy that Fern is home. Nana notes that they have a guest, so they go to the front door and it's Ira. He says that he'll be staying. Nana says that he can take the guest room, which is Nana's room. Ira says that he's glad that Fern is still around, and she says it back to him. He notes that they, the Unseelie Court, are looking for her after killing one of their princes. They then get cocktails. Eventually, Fern wants to go collect all of Chetney's eggs, so she rolls 4 sleight of hand checks. A 32, a 32, a 19, she doesn't get this one, and a 31. She now has 3 of 5 of these Chetney eggs. Maybe we'll get to see the other ones in a one-shot later. She then spends time trying to free Opal, but that's all we get for her now. We then move on to Ashton. They spend some time with Essek learning about themselves. Essek is happy to help. Ashton doesn't notice Ashton does in fact notice that he's being followed and invited to the Kryn dynasty by Kryn agents. However, his hammer has been shaved down and is now a sphere, like a gyroscope, so it's no longer a hammer. It's kind of funny. He becomes hired muscle for archaeological digs and brings along his friends and gets stuff for them and Essek as time goes on. He goes to Nana Mori's place every once in a while and sees Fern and Nana. Sometimes he brings Fern with him on his journeys. Ashton makes a deal with Nana at some point, so that way if he ever does go to the Kryn dynasty, he has a way to get out. He goes to the moon a few times, and eventually he doesn't come back from one of his trips to the moon. What's next for Breas? He dives into his art and paintings. He does eventually start making just full-on nudes of Nana Mori, and eventually, after the nude phase ends, he starts drawing evil babies for some reason. I don't know. Eventually, he begins to follow the Traveler. Jester teaches him to follow him a bit, and Breas sticks with Ford and Jester for a while. He works with Blood at the chateau, the lavish chateau, to be some security. After this, he's looking at his paintings one day, and he thinks something is missing. He gets a whisper from the Traveler saying that it needs a dick. And from that day forward, all of his paintings have a dick on them. Great. He and the Traveler are going to have lots of fun together. So what's next for Orym and Dorian? He is a Tempest Blade and he goes home, but he also travels around with Dorian a lot. Dorian is free from his duties as royalty in the Silken Squall. Orym does spend time to time helping and visiting Nana. During one visit, Nana corners him in the dark hallway, and says that they had a deal, so they go back to the table. However, Nana feels that the deal was fucking impossible to hold up on her end, so she says there was no deal, and it's fine. Orym and Nana go get a cocktail. Dorian spends a lot of his time with Orym. Sometimes when he's alone, however, he gets himself into trouble pulling off heists and jobs with other people in the party. This is the life that he wanted with his family and his friends. What's next for Imogen and Laudna? They go over the next few months, they actually help people in Lake Town and help the Ruidians get familiar with Exandria. Laudna just wants to live a simple life. She's always with Imogen and eventually finds FCG's coin in Jushar. The two eventually build a cottage near Imogen's old home with Chetney's help. Imogen teaches Laudna how to ride horses, and her parents don't get back together, but they are friends. Liliana is looking for her place in the world. Imogen, no matter how far away they are from her friends, she always looks for them in their dreams. Chetney hears a voice say to him one day that they are enjoying his gifts. He also sends a gift of a jellyfish carving to a Jester. Somehow he knows about the jellyfish. So, the question is then asked, what is next for the Mighty Nine? Ford and Jester want to go back to the moon to look for wedding locations. Bo is going to be Ford's best man. Jester says that Caleb, Yasha, and Caduceus and Veth are her maids of honor. The Traveler is officiating. Ford was going to add Veth to his side, but Jester called her. Ford then calls Vox Machina. Caleb makes bug out plans for him and Essek because the Kryn dynasty is now looking in on them. He is aware that Essek is a person of interest, but not necessarily being followed 24/7. He then makes plans with Bo for Ludinus' return. Eventually, one day he does scry on him and sees that he is drinking tea in a simple chamber. With a perception check, he can see where he is. He sees outside of the room is mist and cloud and something moves within. He is somewhere in the shattered teeth. Bo says that her and Yasha are going to adopt a kid now that Ludinus seems to be inactive for a bit, so whatever is going to happen is likely going to have to be a Caleb thing only with Ludinus. So, what's next for Vox Machina? Gra goes to the moon where he meets Gaz Tomo and they have the most powerful handshake ever. And it shatters the moon. It doesn't, but that would be funny as fuck. Scanlan tells Serkonos to be himself when talking to Leov Tel, and Serkonos goes to her after kissing Scanlan on the face, or on the forehead. She covers his mouth before he can say anything, and she says just to bring the heat, and they go have passionate sex. Percy and Vex prepare their kids to take over responsibilities and to take in Ruidians. Percy wants to set up a spy network to figure out where the gods end up coming back first. Keyleth says to let others do that. It's not his problem. And Percy says that his kids will be the ones to deal with it, not him. As Percy gets older, Vex and him spend more time at their summer homes. Keyleth one day will dig into the roots of the world and look for newborn babies, and eventually she will find the ones that are different, but she will never tell Percy. What's next for Pike? She feels a sense of loss after the Everlight is gone, and she asks what to do now, but she ends up just cleaning the temples. 15 years pass, and eventually an acolyte knocks on her door, saying they found her, and the two set off to go find the Everlight once again. Scanlan goes to Pike and tells her that he hates how time has changed them and wants to adventure with her some more. She says that she wants to say no, but she loves him, and she'll give it 6 months so they can travel with no labels. Scanlan also makes her a centaur, and they ride off. Yeah. And with that, the era of reclamation comes to an end, or reclamation, I'm not sure, comes to an end. From the Calamity till now, that era ends. Now is an era of uncertainty and change, but it's exciting and is filled with possibilities. But not a week after the end of that era, Keyleth gets a knock on her door. She opens the door and it's Vax standing there, with more life in his face. The two have been waiting for this, and they're going to start over on a new beginning for their story. She leads her people, and he is guiding the future of the Raven Queen, and he comes home every now and then to see Keyleth. Here's where Campaign 3 ends. Holy shit. So there you have it, the end of Campaign 3. Sorry if this is a super long video, and sorry if halfway through I start doing a bit less detail, because I realized that this would be like a 400-hour long video if I just did a bunch of details, so I started summarizing a lot more stuff. So hopefully that's okay with you guys. And if it is, I might just stick with doing it that way. It's a little easier, and we'll make shorter videos, not, an hour-long recap. But, it's been a wild journey. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm going to give more of my thoughts on the ending for Campaign 3 on Tuesday, because it'll sort of mirror my first ever video on this channel about Critical Role, which is about the ending of Campaign 2. So I think that'll be a lot of fun to do. So with that, I'm going to end the video now because it's already going to be super long. So, peace. No, that's not a good way to end it. Thank you guys all for watching. Thank you for the last 3 years of watching. It's been amazing. Now I'm going to say peace.